Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
Welcome back for another episode. This is Frank Agin, founder and president of AmSpirit Business Connections, and you're listening to the Networking RX podcast. Today I want to relate a story, it's a true story, something that happened. For those who don't know, a lot of these episodes are recorded 60 to 90 days in advance. So this happened over the holidays between Christmas and New Year. It was just a little incident I wanted to share about. And there's always there's always relationship points and everything, and I want to just kind of relate this. I shared this with a friend of mine, Matt Ward, who's been on this program a number of times, and he said, you need to turn that into a podcast episode. And so here we go. At any rate, for many of you know, I have a second podcast. It's a 1-minute daily. It's called Networking RX Minute, and it's just a 1-minute insight, advice, inspiration that I put together. Literally a minute. Okay, sometimes it might go over a minute. The content's a minute, but the intro and outro takes it over a minute. People tease me about that. But it's a minute a day. That's it. Think about subscribing to it if you will. There's my plug for it. It's literally just a minute. At any rate, I came up with this because I have lots of content. And I just figured, okay, it would just be another way for me to share my content in little bite-sized little nuggets. And I have quite a few subscribers for it, and the number continues to grow because, again, it's just a minute, and it's an easy thing to digest. At any rate, I certainly use my own content, but what I started doing early on, realizing that I have lots of content, but it's not a never-ending reserve of content, is quoting from other people. I know a lot of people with wonderful books, with wonderful insights, and there are people out there I don't know that have wonderful insights that I might run into books that I'm reading or social media posts or things that others have shared with me. And what I will simply do is I will do a quick quote from them, reference the material, so I'm not stealing anything, and then put my own little spin on it, or my own little 2 cents, and this is what this means. Again, all within a minute. But what I like to do when I do those little quotes, if people have Twitter accounts, the software that loads up not the software, I guess the interface, the system, Liberated Syndications, Libsyn, what they allow me to do is they allow me to share a link out to posts whenever they come out, or share a link out to podcasts, I should say, whenever they're released. So when I release a podcast, I will have a little intro or just a little summary of what it's about. There'll be a summary to this one on Twitter, for example. But when I'm quoting somebody, what I like to do is I like to go to Twitter and get that particular person's Twitter handle, if you will. Adam Grant, author of Give and Take. I quote from him from time to time. He's got a Twitter account, so I'm going to tag him in it so he can see it. Or Bob Berg is one I do. Terry Bean, Matt Ward, they all have Twitter handles, and it's a nice little gesture for them to let them know that it's out there. And many of them will comment. Many of them will like it. Many of them will share it. And that just certainly helps me, and it helps them. So neither here nor there. So at any rate, I recently met somebody. I'm going to keep their name out of it because I'm going to keep their name out of it, and you'll understand why. But at any rate, they're an author, speaker, social architect, consultant, have a neat little book that I bought a copy of, and there's some nice stuff in there. So I'm like, you know what? I was working up a Networking RX Minute from the book, and there'll probably be a dozen that'll come out of that book over time. And I have little standards. I only do one per month from anybody, and I kind of spread things out, but neither here nor there. This was the very first one, so I figured I'd go out to Twitter and I would just get this person's Twitter handle and copy them, just like I normally do. So I did, and I was there, and I found the Twitter handle. And usually, what I will do is, if I'm going to use somebody's Twitter handle, I'll follow them. And so I did. I followed this particular person. You just click follow, and you follow them. That just ensures that I'll see more and more of their content, so I'll know when they're giving speeches, or if they say something insightful that might not be in their book, I can utilize those things as well. Well, almost immediately the person followed me back, which is not unusual. I mean, people who spend a lot of time on Twitter, and I don't, but people spend a lot of time on Twitter, they know when somebody has followed them, and they'll follow them back. And so when they followed me back, I just quickly just said, hey, just made a comment to them. And again, this was over the holidays between Christmas and New Year. I said, yeah, we got snow. We had a white Christmas, knowing that they had get hit with a lot of snow, and we had this person and I had a conversation about that before Christmas, and we were just kind of talking about all the snow they had got hit with, and so I just was kind of remarking, kind of small talk, right? Just making small talk. Hey, we got snow, and they responded back. He responded back, well, where are you? And I thought that was kind of an odd question because I figured he knew. But I explained where I grew up, that in Michigan, and the 4 inches we got was really no big deal in the scheme of things. And that was pretty much the end of it for a couple hours. Then all of a sudden I got another Twitter message from them, this person, saying, "Are you a binary trader? Do you know about binary trading?" I'm like, "No. Do you do binary trading?" And my response was no. Capital N, capital O, exclamation point, no. I didn't know where this came from, why he's asking me this. I've had 18 people ask me this if I was interested in Bitcoin trading and that. Looked into it. Really, I'm not an early adopter. Let me just put it that way. I'm not an early adopter. Just bought my first pair of Air Jordans. No, I'm kidding, but I'm just not an early adopter. And maybe that's the way of the future. I don't know. And if it is, I'll jump on. And if I miss the boat, if I miss the huge opportunity, so be it. So I just want to make the point. No, I'm not into that. And I thought that was the end of it. And then probably about an hour later, I got another note saying, it's bit trading, binary trading, is a great vehicle for passive income, blah, 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 blah. I just indicated, well, not my thing. That's all I said, not my thing. Figuring that would be the end of it. About 30 minutes later, got another message saying you could turn $500 into $6K. And I'm like, okay, wow. I've said no, and not my thing isn't as a polite way of saying no. I'm a little agitated at this point, but I'm just going to be polite about it, and I'm just going to say it again. Not my thing. Came back again and said, that they would. It was more information. I can't exactly remember what it was, but I just again said not my thing. But I added on to it. If it's yours, I wish you well, but it's not my thing. And I think we all have things that we're comfortable with, and have things that we're not comfortable with, and I'm not comfortable with it. I don't want to do anything with it. And then he responded with, well, I would be your personal contact, and he would be my binary trader broker. All I would have to do is just sit and watch the profits come in. And it's like, okay, this is just, I'm totally agitated at this point. I think I'm trying to watch a movie. Again, it's over the holidays. Things have kind of chilled out, and I don't need to be in the office every day. And I just said, not my thing. And quickly came back with, this would be totally guaranteed returns, guaranteed I would not lose my money, guarantee. I just said, not my thing. And I think it was later at night I went to bed. But I was really, really agitated by this, really agitated because I was doing some things with this particular person, and I just wasn't comfortable with them all of a sudden. So I slept on it, woke up, talked to my wife. I'm like, actually I talked with Matt Ward about it. What do I do? He said, well, something needs to be said. So I did. So I crafted an email. I'm going to share that email with you real quick here. Okay, I'm going to quote from this, but I'll omit little parts here. Again, want to protect the innocent. You'll understand once this story gets fully developed here. But I said, on the heels of yesterday's Twitter exchange, I have to be honest, I was taken back, somewhat offended that you seem to ignore my not my thing responses. Over the last year, I've been approached 17 times with people touting binary trading. I looked into it the first time, and with a CPA, MBA, and law degree, which I have, I'm not stupid, and I felt it was not for me. There are things I invest in and things I don't. Binary trading doesn't make the list. In my mind, that is the end of it. And most everyone else who has approached me on it, including longtime friends, have respected the not my thing response the first time I said it. So that's the end of it for me. Respect that. But that does beg the question, are the people with whom I refer you to going to be led into a hardcore pitch on binary trading? If so, I don't want any part of it. I've spent the better part of a professional lifetime building a professional brand, and same thing with AmSpirit Business Connections. I've spent tens of thousands of dollars building a brand. And Matt Ward is part of this, part of a relationship we have with this person. And I'm sure Matt Ward can make a similar claim. And I don't intend, and he doesn't intend to put it at risk. So essentially I just went on to say, listen, we're at a crossroads. Let's either undo our arrangement, send the money back for our sponsorship, or you need to represent that as a part of our arrangement that the people we're going to be referring to you are not going to be dogged with respect to binary trading. And that's what I sent. Well, the person responded pretty quickly, and what their response was I suspect that you've been the victim of an internet fraudster. We're not connected on Twitter, and I don't do much on there, but when I do, and then he shared his account. So I looked into it, and sure enough, somebody had created a phony account for him. And yeah, I'll certainly take the blame. I could have looked into it closer. I did look into it. It looked totally legit. They totally mimicked him, but on very close examination, I could see where it wasn't. But I'm just trying to tag somebody in a 1-minute post I'm doing. It used his name with just a couple numbers after the end of it. I didn't really think too much of it. I didn't dig into it. It's, hindsight is 20/20. But I, responded to him. I stand corrected, and I'm horribly embarrassed and sorry. We went on back and forth, and he had shared with me that this was the 49th time that it had happened, and he had actually shared a graphic where he had kind of accumulated all these little things out there of people, basically fraudsters who were imposters taking over his identity on Twitter, and I guess doing what he does, he's probably ripe for that, and this is not the first time that it happened. And so there's a lot of little lessons in there. I don't know that you can prevent these sorts of things on Twitter. We can certainly block them. I reported it immediately, and the fraudulent account was removed. It's really kind of impressive how quickly Twitter moves. I don't know that Twitter can do anything, or you or I can do anything to prevent these things on the front end. I guess monitor your account, and I don't know. I don't know what the answer to it is. I mean, this particular individual has dealt with it, and it's just kind of resolved to the fact that these things are going to happen. He actually got an email out to everybody who is involved with him on this particular project, and just said, hey, listen, this is one of you was contacted, one of you was hit up on this. Here is my actual Twitter. I don't use it much. Just beware. So he did pretty much everything that he could do. But I think the lesson in this for me is this, and hopefully a lesson for you. I was really agitated. I remember waking up and talking to my wife and reaching out to Matt Ward, and my reaction was I was mad. I was really mad, because it's, I don't know a whole lot about binary trading or Bitcoin other than what I've looked into it and know that, hey, it's not for me. And I don't really care if somebody wants to do those things. I don't care if somebody's in direct sales or multi-level marketing, or whatever people choose to do. However you choose to make a living and earn an income is fine by me, as long as it's legal, right? I'll put that caveat in there, as long as it's legal. But where I was really put off was I counted 6 times that I said some form of no, or it's not my thing. And that's where I had an issue, is that somebody is not respecting this. And so I was so angry with this, and so disappointed that somebody I'd gotten to know and somebody that I was, doing business with and touting and quoting and referring would do that to me. And obviously it was all fraudulent in the end, and I was so relieved to find that out. I was embarrassed, but I was relieved. But I think the lesson in here is, and it's a long story and a quick lesson, is that my initial reaction was to be mad, but I had the presence of mind to respond in a calm way. And I went for a long walk. Well, I took the dog for a walk, but I went for a long walk and really kind of got my head around what I needed to say and how to say it. Our reactions are emotional, and they're not always the best. And when they're negative or positive, our reactions don't necessarily do us justice. But our responses can be a little more thought through. And if I would have reacted like I wanted to react in my anger, I could have really hurt a relationship. And I don't know, and it didn't happen, thankfully. But I think that, just kind of a little lesson there to kind of all of us to just take pause in these moments, send ourselves emails or sit on an email. And I really thought long and hard and thought, well, maybe I spent too much time on this response before I knew this guy was just, being impersonated. I should just be done with this. But in the end, I'm glad I just took the time to respond, and we were able to clear the air. How will I behave differently in the future? Well, certainly if I get anybody responding to me on Twitter that I know and it's something relative to binary trading, I'm slow but not stupid. So it won't happen again. So anyhow, just a quick little story to share, and hold your reactions. Be careful with your responses is really what it boils down to. Anyhow, to wrap up, if you know of an entrepreneur, business owner, or professional that really enjoys to network, maybe they're connected with a chamber, maybe they're in another networking organization. If you know such a person, that would be a great person for me to meet. What you might want to ask them, it's a rhetorical question. Would you rather rent an apartment or own the building? And what I'm getting at with respect to that, of course, they'll probably chuckle and say, well, I'd rather own the building than being the poor sap paying rent. It's just say, through AmSpirit Business Connections, there is a franchise opportunity that literally allows you to create groups that you can benefit from and profit from, and be in a group at the same time. So if you know of such a person, maybe hit them with that, or if you would like, just introduce them to me. Send me their information. Tell them to contact me. The best thing of all is just send them an email and copy me on it and just say, hey, Frank, here's somebody who's really well connected and might be a good person for you to meet. And I'm not going to hardcore pitch them. I will respect any no's they give me, but it would give me an opportunity to share about the AmSpirit Business Connections franchise opportunity. And it may be for them. It may be for somebody they know. It may be for somebody who they knows. Who knows? But those connections really kind of set everything in motion. So I would appreciate that.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.